Okay, yes, my name's Helen Ball. I am Head of Sustainability at Broadacres Housing Association. And today I am going to tell you a little bit about Broadacres, set the scene, tell you a little bit about the progress that we've made so far in terms of energy efficiency works and improving our customers' homes in that respect, touch upon next steps, what we're working towards now and considering for the future. I'm going to focus on our Wave 2.1, our SHGF Wave 2.1 project, which we've just completed, and sort of spend a bit of time reflecting on the key lessons that we learned during that project, delivering that project. Just to tell you a little bit about Broadacres. So we're a registered social landlord. We are based in North Yorkshire. We have got 6,500, just more than 6,500 homes now. North Yorkshire is a big county. It's also quite a rural county. So we do have quite a lot of properties that are in rural locations and don't have access to mains gas. And I think because of that, we started our retrofit journey quite early. We had a lot of feedback a number of years ago from customers who had oil central heating or storage heaters to heat their homes. And the feedback that we were getting was that they were struggling to afford to heat their homes, and that those forms of heating, especially storage heaters, they weren't effective. The heat had run out by the evening, if you like. So quite a number of years ago, we started installing heat pumps in our rural properties, and you'll hear a little bit more about that as I go through the presentation today. So just to tell you a little bit about myself. So as I say, I'm Helen. I've worked at Broadacres for coming up to 10 years and worked in the social housing sector for about 17 years in total, and longer than that in the sustainability field. But I won't tell you how long, so it'll give away my age. So I've got quite a lot of experience working in sustainability and in the sector, and the vast majority of what I get involved with now is retrofit and sort of heading up our retrofit programs and planning what work we're going to do on our properties in the future. So, oh gosh, I've already gone through this slide, haven't I? Yeah, I've already told you about this. So I'll just flick on to the next slide. So just to tell you a little bit about what we've sort of progress that we've made so far at Broadacres. So as I said a minute or two ago, we have installed quite a lot of heat pumps in properties. So we've got currently 882 of our homes, which is about 17%, are heated with air source heat pumps, which is a really good proportion, and it's growing as well. We've just completed the Wave 2.1 SHGF project, which I'll tell you a little bit more about later on in the presentation, which has seen us improve 400 homes. Through the Future Homes Standard, all of our homes that we build now at Broadacres have got air source heat pumps installed as standard. That kind of contributes into that total figure of 882. Some of those were our new build properties. The vast majority, those heat pumps were retrofitted into existing homes. A number of years ago, we completed a deep retrofit project where we retrofitted 4 homes to be zero carbon ready. And we learned a lot from that project. We did a lot of the work ourselves in-house, and we're still sort of we've captured the learning from it, but we're still sort of trying to deliver that learning as we go through. So we're using the lessons that we learned from that to change and enhance the specifications for all of our planned works and void works, so that we can integrate energy efficiency works into business as usual activities. And we've got a big focus on data quality at Broadacres. We've known for a long time how important that is around the data that we hold about the energy efficiency of our homes, and we utilising that to make sort of data-driven decisions, if you like. Because our data's in quite a good sort of state now, we're quite confident with the quality of our data. It helps us to business plan in sort of year on year in terms of what budget we need in order to meet our energy efficiency targets. And that has meant that we've been able to ring fence a £2 million internal budget each year for the last 5 years in order to deliver energy efficiency works on our homes, as well as sort of bringing in external funding as well. So what are we looking for in the coming years? Well, we are aiming to achieve minimum SAP 69 by 2028, so 2 years ahead of some other folk, if you like. And yeah, we're confident that we can do that. We've still got a lot of work to do, but we're confident that we can reach that target. And then beyond that, we're aiming for carbon neutrality by 2050. Over the next 3 years, we aim to retrofit 640 homes using funding from Wave 3, from the Warm Home Social Housing Fund, as well as accessing other funding where we can as well. And as I said previously, we've got this active piece of work where we're integrating retrofit and energy efficiency items into our business as usual activities by enhancing those specifications for our major works projects. So yeah, I'll just tell you a little bit about our Wave 2.1 project. Through that, we retrofitted 400 homes. We were granted 2.4 million, and we used that grant to install heat pumps, solar PV, loft top-ups and smart air bricks in these 400 homes. So all 400 homes received solar PV. Some of them already had air source heat pumps installed, but those that didn't had a heat pump fitted. Those that needed a loft top-up, the lofts were topped up, and those that were suitable for smart air bricks had smart air bricks installed. So we tried to do, by the end of it, all of those 400 homes, had all of the measures that home was suitable for. We purposefully did that. We sort of overachieved, if you like. By the end of the project, 67% of those 400 homes achieved an EPC band B and 15% achieved an EPC band A. And so we know that work has contributed to playing an important role in the full decarbonisation of our stock, as well as sort of hitting that minimum SAP 69 target. And we see that as an important way of delivering a good customer experience, because if we'd just done the measures required to get up to SAP 69, we'd have to have gone in again and again and again in the coming years to make additional improvements to the energy efficiency of those homes. But by doing quite a lot of measures at the same time and achieving a good SAP score, we'll have to go in and disturb those customers fewer times in the coming years. So yeah, it was kind of like a purposeful kind of decision that we made at the beginning. And you can see on the screen there some feedback from this lovely customer here. So in the green jumper on the screen, this is a chap called Mr. Smith, and he lives in one of our bungalows. And he's lived there for quite a long time. He lives with his wife and his daughter, both of whom are disabled, and previously had storage heaters in his home. And he was offered a heat pump, I think 2 or possibly 3 years on a trot, but he declined it every year because he'd heard some maybe false truths, if you like, about heat pumps. And it wasn't until we then came along and offered him the heat pump alongside the other measures, especially the solar PV, that he was convinced and changed his mind and let us in to do the work. And he's absolutely thrilled with the outcome. I think he told me that previously, when he had storage heaters, he felt guilty because he couldn't afford to heat the whole home to a reasonable temperature, and he felt guilty because both of his wife and his daughter have disabilities, and he knew that was sort of having a detrimental impact on their health. So now that he can do that, it's made a huge difference. In addition, they have a Motability vehicle, which is an electric vehicle, so they've now got a charging point fitted. So he's got everything absolutely sorted in his head. He's on the right tariff. He's getting the SEG payments back, and he's charging his car when the sun shines. So yeah, he's absolutely thrilled with the outcome. And like you can read there on the screen, he used to dread the winter, but that worry has gone forever. And we hear that kind of story time and time again from our customers, which is absolutely, it's really heartwarming to hear. So I've now got a little film from one of our other customers, which was made by the Northern Housing Consortium.
My story about energy efficiency in my home. When I moved into the property, the air source heating system had already been fitted. And as far as I'm concerned, it's the best heating system yet. I used to have nice storage radiators, which I thought were filthy. Only in the summer, if you kicked in and you got a hot day, you had to open all your windows to let the heat out, which for me was a waste of money. Well, the air source, I've got total control over it. I can switch it off totally, or I can turn the stats down. If I go away on holiday, I can shut it off so it's not running and wasting electricity. and heating water I'm not going to use. As well as the heat source pump, I've had solar panels fitted to the roof on the back where we get the more sunshine. The fit of it is fantastic. It's no mess. There's no problems at all. We were given a little bit of advice about when best time to use the power. Best time is mainly from about noon to early evening. So that's the time I pick to cut my lawns. So I'm using power that I'm producing. I know when you're getting alterations done in any property, there is so much mess. But that didn't bother me. I used to give the guys a hand to clean up. With working myself in construction, I know every job you get done in a property comes with a bit of mess. But that we can all put up with. If you're going to have the update and you're not sure, find somebody who's had it and talk it with them. Having the regular contact with Broadacres made making my decision what I thought the right one. I wasn't afraid to ask questions and I always got the right answers. The heat pump system is clean, it gets serviced every year, and there's never been a problem yet with it, and I'm quite happy. Anybody who's really thinking about changing the heating system, please go for air source. You won't be sorry.
So it's quite a nice watch, isn't it? And I think you'll agree. He just that customer there, Mr. Cashmore, he just sounds so proud of his home as well, which is really lovely to hear. So yeah, I just thought probably I'll during the next part of the presentation, I'm just going to sort of recap really on the key lessons that we've learned from delivering our Wave 2.1 project. So yeah, I'll just go on to the next slide. So yeah, these are the sort of 5, if I was going to sort of distill some sort of key lessons learned from Broadacres Retrofit project so far, this would be it here. So I'm going to go through each of these in turn, and yeah, hopefully you'll find that interesting. So yeah, the first one, we have found that it's really important to have a comprehensive specification for the retrofit measures that you're aiming to install. So we've learnt over the years kind of what goes into sort of a good air source heat pump install, a good PV install, even like a good loft insulation install, etc. And we have created really detailed specifications to guide, if you like, our contractors and to tell them step by step, if you like, how we want these retrofit measures installed. This, we have found, prevents you being led by your contractor. Obviously, there's some really great contractors out there, but we don't want our contractors to lead us. We want to be the ones to be leading them and telling them exactly what we want to be delivered in our customers' homes. And it ensures that you get the retrofit install that you want rather than the install that your contractor wants. So yeah, that was one of the key lessons that we've learned. The second key lesson is around customer liaison, and we deliver this quite differently at Broadacres, I think, to some social landlords. So at Broadacres, we believe that the customer engagement element of the retrofit project is so important that we have brought that in-house. We have 3 in-house customer liaison officers who are dedicated to our retrofit programme. They don't get involved in any other work. They're just solely working on the retrofit programme. And those customer liaison officers attend every single retrofit assessment with our contractors. So they get to meet every single customer at the beginning of the journey, and they get to know if the customer has any sort of needs. They remain that one main point of contact for our customers throughout the retrofit programme. So for those of you who've done retrofit work before, you'll know that there can be lots and lots of intervention points, so many visits involved for the customer, quite a lot of phone calls, etc. And sometimes it can get really confusing for the customer in terms of who they're dealing with. It can be a different person every time. It's not like that at Broadacres because it's always the customer liaison officer. It's always them, you know, and our customers know that if they've got any queries, they can get them answered through their CLO. So what we've found is that this approach, it helps to reduce the decline rate. It helps us to gain access to homes which we might not otherwise be able to. Our customer liaison officers go well, I'm not even going to say above and beyond, because it's not. They just help our customers in an individual way. And they probably spend 90% of their time working with 10% of our customers. And possibly those 10% of customers we wouldn't have been able to get through. We wouldn't have been able to bring them on the retrofit journey with us if it hadn't have been for that. So that's one of the sort of key reasons why we feel it's so important to invest in the CLOs. They bring lots of added value to the project as well, mostly around being able to build trust between the tenant and the landlord. And that value way outlives the retrofit project. We're going back into homes now where we might have worked 3-4 years ago and installed a heat pump, and we're going back this year to install solar panels through the wave 3. And our customers remembering the names of our CLOs, and our CLOs are going, I can't wait until we get onto that street because I'll see Mrs. So-and-so again. So we have this relationship built up that lasts, and it really helps to build that degree of trust between the landlord and the tenant, which is so important. So yeah, that's sort of our second lesson learned, is around investing in the customer liaison. We've also found that it can be really beneficial to install air source in conjunction with other energy efficiency measures. Like I said when I was speaking in relation to Mr. Smith, who declined for a number of years, we're finding that is not a one-off story. We're finding that customers are changing their mind now about having a heat pump installed. They may have declined previously because they weren't convinced about the technology, or they weren't convinced that technology was going to save them money. But with the addition of the solar PV panels, they're so much more convinced, and they're saying yes rather than saying no, which is the answer that we want. And the fourth lesson learned there is around technical know-how. So it's so important that you've got that knowledge and skills in-house to be able to ensure that your contractors are delivering great work. So at Broadacres, we employ a contract supervisor who is a heating engineer by trade. He's got lots of experience with heat pumps. He's learned lots about other retrofit measures such as solar PV as well. And he post-inspects every single install and works really closely with our contractors to ensure that they deliver the specification that we've set out, through the procurement process. We've learned the hard way how important this is. Before we had that role, we didn't really have a way to make sure that our contractors were delivering what we asked them to deliver. And in some instances, that wasn't happening. And especially with retrofit measures such as heat pump installs, the devil is in the detail, and every little detail needs to be correct in order for that retrofit measure to work, correctly. So it's so important, we have found, to be able to do those checks and balances. And going back to sort of customer satisfaction, having that role helps to ensure that there's a better customer satisfaction, because we know that every single install has been delivered to a high quality because we've been in and we've checked it. So we're not having to do all those repeat visits that we may have done if we hadn't, done those checks. And then the fourth lesson that I've got down there is around sort of ongoing knowledge and understanding. So it's important to remember that as landlords, we're not just sort of fitting and forgetting these technologies, are we? They're in our properties, they're in our portfolios, and we need to be confident that we can maintain them going forward, and that we've got knowledge and skills throughout the organisation to be able to pass that information on to customers. So I suppose kind of key roles that I'm thinking of will be heating engineers and electricians need to have a good level of knowledge and skills around servicing, maintaining solar panels, heat pumps, etc. But it goes beyond that as well, because it goes into roles such as housing officers. If the housing officer is letting a property with a heat pump, they need to have enough knowledge and understanding around that system to pass that information onto the new tenant. And even, sort of the contact centre as well. We had our contact centre out onto site to see what a heat pump looked like, and they said it was so useful, because they said, oh, we're getting these calls from customers and they're talking about this big yellow switch, but I don't know what the big yellow switch is, and now I've seen it, and it's going to really help me now when I'm speaking to customers on the phone. So yeah, it's about sort of trying to think how to spread that knowledge and understanding across the organisation. So yeah, those really were the 5 key lessons that we learned from our project. And I think by delivering Retrofit project sort of in line with these lessons, it meant that it was a really successful project, and we're hoping that Wave 3 is going to be equally as successful as well. So we delivered on time. Well, we delivered ahead of schedule, actually. I think we finished work on site in January, and we delivered to budget, etc., etc. We managed to claim all the grant that we applied for. So yeah, it was a successful project in all respects. And as you can see, the feedback from customers was really strong as well. Yeah, that's the end of my presentation.
Amazing. Thank you, Helen.